Zhuda, Chutan, Chinese, Pinyin, Zhuda, pronounced, December 1, 1886, July 6, 1976, was a Chinese general, warlord, politician, revolutionary, and one of the pioneers of the Communist Party of China. Born poor in 1886 in Sichuan, Zhu was adopted by a wealthy uncle at age 9. This prosperity provided him a superior early education that led to his admission into a military academy. After his time at the academy, he joined a rebel army, and soon became a warlord. It was after this period that he adopted communism. He ascended through the ranks of the Red Army as it closed in on securing the nation. By the time China was under Mao's control, Zhu was a high-ranking official within the Communist Party of China. He served as commander-in-chief during the Second Sino-Japanese War. In 1955, Zhu became one of the 10 marshals of the People's Liberation Army, of which he is regarded as the principal founder. Zhu remained a prominent political figure until his death in 1976. As the chairman of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress from 1975 to 1976, Zhu was the head of state of the People's Republic of China. Early life. Zhu was born on December 18, 1886 to a poor tenant farmer's family in Heng, a town in Yulong County, a hilly and isolated part of northern Sichuan province. Of the 15 children born to the family, only 8 survived. His Hakka family relocated to Sichuan during the migration from Hunan Province and Guangdong Province. In spite of the family's poverty, by pooling resources, Zhu was chosen to be sent to a regional private school in 1892. At age 9, Zhu was adopted by his prosperous uncle, whose political influence allowed him to gain access to Yunnan Military Academy. Before the suspension of imperial examinations in 1906, he attained the rank of Siukai, which allowed him to qualify as a civil servant. He enrolled in a Sichuan high school around 1907, and graduated in 1908. Subsequently, he returned to Yulong's primary school as a gym instructor. An advocate of modern science and political teaching, rather than the strict classical education afforded by schools, he was dismissed from his post and entered the Yunnan Military Academy in Kunming. There, he joined the Beiyang Army and the Tongmenghui secret political society, the forerunner of the Kuomintang. Nationalism and warlordism. It was at the Yunnan Military Academy in Kunming, that Zhu first met Cai Cao. He taught at the academy after his graduation in July 1911. Siding with the revolutionary forces after the Chinese Revolution, he joined Brigadier Cai in the October 1911 expeditionary force that marched on Qing forces in Sichuan. He served as a regimental commander in the campaign to unseat Yuan Shikai in 1915-16. When Cai became governor of Sichuan after Yuan's death in June 1916, Zhu was made a brigade commander. Following the death of his mentor Cai November 1916, and of his first wife, Zhu developed a severe opium habit that afflicted him until 1922, when he underwent treatment in Shanghai. His troops continued to support him, and so he consolidated his forces to become a warlord. In 1920, after his troops were driven from Sichuan toward the Tibetan border, he returned to Yunnan as a public security commissioner of the provincial government. Around this time, his second wife and child were murdered by rival warlords, which is believed to have contributed to his decision to leave China for study in Europe. He first traveled to Shanghai, where he broke his opium habit and, according to historians of the Kuomintang, met Dr. Sun Yat-sen. He attempted to join the Chinese Communist Party in early 1922, but was rejected due to his being a warlord. Converting to communism, in late 1922, Zhu went to Berlin. He resided in Germany until 1925, studying at one point at Göttingen University. Here he met Zhou Enlai and was expelled from Germany for his role in a number of student protests. Around this time he joined the Communist Party of China. Zhou Enlai was one of his sponsors, having sponsors being a condition of probationary membership, the stage before actual membership. In July 1925, after being expelled from Germany, he traveled to the Soviet Union to study military affairs and Marxism at the Communist University of the Oilers of the East, returning to China in July 1926 to unsuccessfully persuade Sichuan warlord Yang Sen to support the Northern Expedition. In 1927, following the collapse of the First United Front, Kuomintang authorities ordered Zhu to lead a force against Zhou Enlai in Liu Baqing's Nanchang uprising. Having helped orchestrate the uprising, Zhu and his army defected from the Kuomintang. Citation needed: the uprising failed to gather support, however, and Zhu was forced to flee Nanchang with his army. Under the false name of Wang Kai, Zhu managed to find shelter for his remaining forces by joining the warlord Fan Shisheng. Citation needed: he was soon named head of a new First United Front military institute in Nanchang. Zhu Mao. Zhu's close affiliation with Mao Zedong began in 1928 when, under the assistance of Chen Yi and Lin Biao, Zhu defected from Fan Shisheng's protection and marched his army of 10,000 men to Jiangxi in the Jinggang Mountains. Here Mao had formed a Soviet in 1927, and Zhu began building up his army into the Red Army, consolidating and expanding the Soviet areas of control. Zhu's leadership made him a figure of immense prestige. Locals even credited him with supernatural abilities. During this time Mao and Zhu became so closely connected that to the local peasant farmers they were known collectively as Zhu Mao. In 1929, Zhu and Mao were forced to flee Jinggang Shantuo-i-Jin following Kuomintang military pressure. Here they formed the Jiangxi Soviet, which would eventually grow to cover some 30,000 square kilometers, 11,584 square miles, and include some 3 million people. In 1931, Zhu was appointed leader of the Red Army in Ruo-i-Jin by the CPC leadership. 26. Zhu successfully led a conventional military force against the Kuomintang in the lead-up to the Fourth Counter-Encirclement Campaign. However, he was not able to do the same during the Fifth Counter-Encirclement Campaign and the CPC fled. 28. Zhu helped form the 1934 breakout that began the Long March. Red Army leader during the Long March, Zhu and Zhou Enlai organized certain battles in tandem. There were few positive effects since the real power was in the hands of Bogu and Otto Braun. In this unique conference, Zhu supported Mao Zedong's criticisms of Bo and Braun. After the conference, Zhu cooperated with Mao and Zhu on military affairs. In July 1935, Zhu and Liu Baqing were with the Fourth Red Army while Mao Zedong and Zhou Enlai with the First Red Army. When separation between the two divisions occurred, Zhu was forced by Zhang Guotai, the leader of Fourth Red Army, to go south. The Fourth Red Army barely survived the retreat through Sichuan province. Arriving in Yan'an, Zhu directed the reconstruction of the Red Army under the political guidance of Mao. During the Second Sino-Japanese War and the Chinese Civil War, he held the position of Commander-in-Chief of the Red Army and, in 1940, Zhu, alongside Peng Dehuai, devised and organized the 100 Regiments Offensive. Initially, Mao supported this offensive. While a successful campaign, Mao later attributed it as the main provocation for the devastating Japanese Three Alls policy later and used it to criticize Peng at the Lushan Conference. Later life: in 1949 Zhu was named Commander-in-Chief of the People's Liberation Army, PLA. It is in this way posterity regards him as a principal founder of the PLA. He also served as the vice chairman of the Communist Party, 1956 to 1966, and vice chairman of the People's Republic of China, 1954 to 1959. Zhu oversaw the PLA during the Korean War within his authority as commander-in-chief. In 1955, he was conferred to the rank of marshal. At the Lushan Conference, he tried to protect Peng Dehuai, by giving some mild criticisms of Peng. Rather than denouncing him, he merely gently reproved his targeted comrade, who was a target of Mao Zedong. Mao wasn't satisfied with Zhu's behavior. After the conference, Zhu was dismissed from vice chairman of Central Military Commission, not in least part due to his loyalty for the fallen Peng. In April 1969, during the summit of the Cultural Revolution, Zhu was dismissed from his position on the Politburo Standing Committee of the Communist Party of China, and the activity of the National People's Congress was halted. However, due to the support of Zhou Enlai, he was not harmed or imprisoned. In August 1969, Lin Biao issued a command that dispatched important martial figures to distant areas due to the tension between China and Soviet Union, and Zhu was driven to Guangzhou. Citation needed: in 1973 Zhu was reinstated in the Standing Committee. He continued to be a prominent elder statesman until his death on July 6, 1976. 46. His passing came 6 months after the death of Zhou Enlai, and just 2 months before the death of Mao Zedong. Zhu was cremated 3 days later, and received a funeral days afterwards. During a strike-hard anti-crime campaign in 1983, one of Zhu's grandsons, Guohua, was sentenced to death due to a rape conviction in Tianjin.